my point. Exactly my point with this is it's funny how some of these things seem to resurrect themselves over time.
Now back to his theology.
Okay.
I'm going to quote from Thomas Paine's Age of Reason, number 1. He says, "All national institutions of churches, whether Jewish, Christian, or Turkish, appear to me no other than human inventions set up to terrify and enslave mankind and monopolize power and profit." How do you react to that? Anybody?
Well, that sounds very much like what I've been saying for many years. The business of religion, as opposed to anything. The comfort that's provided. The business usually relies mostly on fear, and religion, by many of its leaders, is used to amass power and money, and has nothing to do with any kind of spiritual side. Yeah, I agree with Paine very much on that.
I suspect that your church has not amassed a great deal of money. Am I correct?
That is correct. But you mentioned the business of religion, and that is one part of it. And religion does have a business aspect to it. A church must be run, and an organization of churches needs the financing in order to succeed and to be successful. But there's also a relation of churches with business. Sometimes there's the establishment of associations into business communities or into political systems in ways. And this seems to me a lot of what we're seeing today would be religious organizations have decided to affiliate.
Sure. Now, you had some other sections of the Age of Reason that you wanted to tell us about.
Sure. And this just continues here a little bit. As several of my colleagues and others of my fellow citizens of France have given me the example of making their voluntary and individual profession of faith, I also make mine. And I do this with all that sincerity and frankness with which the mind of man communicates with itself. I believe in one God and no more, and I hope for happiness beyond this life. I believe in the equality of man, and I believe that religious duties consist in doing justice, loving mercy, and endeavoring to make our fellow creatures happy.
Would you say that that is also your religious philosophy?
That is very close to my philosophy of faith. It seems to me that an underlying element of all religious faith should be, how do we treat each other? We're given this wonderful gift of life that we can enjoy. And I noticed earlier to talk the statement about natural religion among those who are New Orleans secular humanists. And in that area, I come very close to your organization, because I believe that we are all natural people. Dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. And in this, as being people doing justice, loving mercy, endeavoring to make our fellow creatures happy. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure that we could disagree with any of that.
Yeah.
Now, you've got one more thing about Thomas Paine before we get to Jefferson.
Yes. And this I wanted to add, and it includes a little bit about creeds and churches, and and the segment you read as well. But lest it should be supposed that I believe many other things in addition to these, I shall, in the progress of this work, declare the things that I do not believe and my reasons for not believing them. I do not believe in the creed professed by the Jewish church, by the Roman church, by the Greek church, by the Turkish church, by the Protestant church, nor by any church that I know of. My own mind is my own church. I do not mean to condemn those who believe otherwise. They have their same right to their belief as I have to mine. But it is necessary to the happiness of man, or humans, we would say now, that we be mentally faithful to ourselves. Infidelity does not consist in believing or in disbelieving. It consists in professing to believe what we really do not believe.
Which might apply to many leading politicians in this country today. Would you agree? Pretending to believe what they really don't believe.
It well might apply.
All right.
Yes.
Well, I understand that neither our organization nor your church can take active political positions, but I think in general we could agree on that.
Yes.
Well, let's talk now a little bit about Thomas Jefferson, who's more closely involved with the kind of government and kind of country we now have.
Well, I suspect we're probably all a little bit more familiar with Jefferson, and I wanted to bring Paine into the equation as just an example that there were other voices with similar types of messages. Jefferson worked quite closely with James Madison, and Madison really drafted, I believe, the document of the separation of church and state. Would you, I don't know if you, Michael, have looked at this or?
Well, I'm very big on the origin of the separation of church and state. We all know that it was first written down as a phrase in the letter to the Danbury Baptists that Jefferson wrote to try to assure them that there wouldn't be an established religion, because the Danbury Baptists were worried that there might be an establishment and they might not be it.
And that was where Jefferson said the wall of separation between government and religion.
Wall of separation between church and state. What a lot of people fail to recognize, and I realize this isn't about Jefferson, but I do want to throw it in for the audience, is people are always saying, well, it's not in the Constitution. Well, no, it isn't. Neither is right to privacy in the Constitution, or a number of other principles that we all agree with aren't specifically put in the Constitution. But it did enter in 73 or was it 93, it entered American jurisprudence because the Supreme Court was looking at a polygamy case out of the Utah Territory, and the polygamists said that they had a right based on their religion to marry more than one person, and in their analysis, the Supreme Court found it necessary to take a look at what was religious belief and what was religious practice.